It was a normal Tuesday morning when everything changed. The sky over New York City turned dark. Not the usual cloud dark, but a strange, unnatural darkness that made people stop and look up. Sarah Johnson, a young office worker, was walking to work when she noticed the change. She stopped in the middle of the busy sidewalk, her coffee forgotten in her hand. Around her, others were doing the same, their faces a mix of confusion and fear. "What's happening?" Someone near her whispered. Sarah didn't know, but she felt a chill run down her spine. Something was very wrong. Suddenly, the darkness cleared, but what replaced it was even more shocking. A massive ship, unlike anything Sarah had ever seen, hung in the sky above the city. It was so big that it seemed to stretch from one end of the horizon to the other. People started screaming. Cars stopped in the middle of the road. In the distance, sirens began to wail. Sarah's phone buzzed in her pocket. With shaking hands, she pulled it out. It was an emergency alert. "Stay calm. Seek a shield or a memediva Eloi." This is not a drill. All around the world, similar scenes were playing out. In London, Paris, Tokyo, and every major city, enormous ships appeared in the sky. The Earth was under siege. In Washington, D.C., President Lisa Chen was rushed to a secure bunker deep beneath the White House. Her advisors crowded around her, their faces pale with fear. "Madam President," her chief of staff said, his voice shaking, "we're getting reports of ships appearing all over the world. Our military is on high alert, but we've never seen technology like this before." President Chen took a deep breath. She had trained for many crises, but nothing like this. "Get me in touch with other world leaders," she ordered. "We need to present a united front." As the hours passed, more information came in. The ships weren't just over cities. They were everywhere, over oceans, deserts, and even the poles. Earth was completely surrounded. Then a message came. It appeared on every screen, in every language, all over the world. "People of Earth, we are the Galactic Empire. Your planet is now under our control. Resist, and you will be destroyed. Cooperate, and you may survive. You have one Earth day to surrender." The message was clear. The Galactic Empire had arrived, and they wanted Earth. In New York, Sarah huddled in her apartment with her roommates, watching the news in disbelief. The ship still hung in the sky outside their window, a constant reminder of the new reality. "What are we going to do?" her roommate, Mike, asked. No one had an answer. Back in Washington, President Chen sat in an emergency meeting with world leaders. The mood was grim. "We can't fight them," the Russian president said. "Their technology is too advanced. We must surrender." "No," President Chen said firmly. "We can't give up without trying. Humanity has faced challenges before. We've always found a way." As they argued, scientists around the world were already working. They studied the alien ships, looking for weaknesses. Military leaders made plans, even though they knew their weapons might be useless. And ordinary people, like Sarah, found their courage. All over the world, people came together. They shared food, offered shelter, and comforted each other. In the face of this threat, old rivalries were forgotten. Humanity stood united. As the deadline approached, President Chen prepared to address the world. She knew her next words would shape the future of humanity. "My fellow citizens of Earth," she began, her voice strong and clear. "Today, we face the greatest challenge in human history. The Galactic Empire demands our surrender. They think we are weak. They think we will give up easily." She paused, her eyes fierce with determination. "But they don't know us. They don't know our strength, our courage, our ability to come together in times of crisis. We will not surrender. We will stand firm. We will show the galaxy that Earth is not to be underestimated." As her words echoed around the world, a new feeling spread. Fear was replaced by determination. Despair turned to hope. From the largest cities to the smallest villages, humans prepared to defend their home. The Galactic Empire had arrived, expecting an easy conquest. Instead, they found a planet united, ready to fight for its freedom. The battle for Earth was about to begin. The world held its breath as the deadline approached. In homes, offices, and shelters across the globe, people watched their screens, waiting for news. In the White House war room, President Chen stood tall. Her advisors looked at her, waiting for her decision. The room was quiet. You could hear a pin drop. "Madam President," her military advisor said, breaking the silence. "The Galactic Empire's deadline is in 5 minutes. What's your order?" President Chen took a deep breath. She thought about all the people counting on her. She thought about Earth's long history. Then she spoke. "Send our answer," she said, her voice firm. "Tell them Earth refuses to surrender. We will not bow to threats." The message was sent. The world waited. Suddenly, the screens lit up. The Galactic Empire's ambassador appeared. He looked angry. "People of Earth," he said, his voice cold, "you have made a grave mistake. Prepare to face the consequences of your defiance." The transmission cut off. For a moment, there was silence. Then, chaos erupted. In New York, Sarah watched from her apartment window as the massive ship above the city began to glow. She felt scared, but also proud. Earth was standing up for itself. "Look," her roommate Mike shouted, pointing at the TV. On the screen, they saw something amazing. All around the world, people were coming out of their homes. They weren't running or hiding. They were standing together, facing the alien ships. In Paris, people gathered around the Eiffel Tower. In Rio, they stood on the beaches. In Tokyo, they filled the streets. Everywhere, humans showed they were not afraid. Back in Washington, President Chen watched the scenes with tears in her eyes. "Look at them," she said to her advisors. "This is why we can't give up. This is what we're fighting for." But the Galactic Empire wasn't impressed. They launched their first attack. Huge beams of light shot from their ships, aiming at Earth's major cities. Everyone expected destruction, but something unexpected happened. The beams hit invisible barriers. They couldn't get through. Earth had defenses no one knew about. In a secret underground base, Dr. Emma Rodriguez smiled. Her team of scientists had been working on a global shield project for years. They never thought they'd need to use it so soon. "It's working," she shouted, hugging her colleagues. "The shield is holding." The news spread quickly. Earth had a chance. The Galactic Empire's weapons couldn't break through the shield. All over the world, people cheered. In New York, Sarah and her friends danced in their apartment. In London, people sang in the streets. Hope was alive. But the battle was far from over. The Galactic Empire, angry that their first attack failed, prepared for a bigger assault. World leaders gathered for an emergency meeting. They knew they needed a plan. "The shield won't last forever," Dr. Rodriguez warned. "We need to find a way to fight back." That's when an unexpected voice spoke up. It was a young hacker named Raj, who had been brought in to help with cyber defense. "I think I found something," he said, his eyes shining with excitement. "A weakness in their communication system. If we can exploit it, we might be able to disrupt their fleet." The room buzzed with excitement. It was a long shot, but it was something. President Chen stood up. "This is what humanity does best," she said. "We innovate. We find solutions where none seem to exist. Let's get to work." As the meeting ended, a new feeling spread across the Earth. It wasn't just defiance now. It was determination. Humans were going to fight back, and they were going to use every trick, every skill, and every resource they had. In cities and towns, in labs and workshops, people started working together. They shared ideas, built new tools, and prepared for the fight ahead. The Galactic Empire thought they were dealing with a primitive species. They were about to learn how wrong they were. As night fell, The alien ship still loomed in the sky, but on the ground, Earth was alive with activity. In her New York apartment, Sarah joined an online group of volunteers. In Washington, President Chen reviewed battle plans. In secret bases around the world, scientists and soldiers prepared for the next phase. The message was clear. Earth was not going to be an easy conquest. The real battle was just beginning. As the sun rose on the third day of the invasion, Earth was buzzing with activity. The initial shock had worn off. And now, everyone was focused on one thing: preparing for the fight ahead. In a secret underground lab in Tokyo, Dr. Yuki Tanaka worked tirelessly. She and her team were trying to turn everyday objects into weapons against the aliens. "Look at this," she said, holding up what looked like a normal cell phone. "We've modified it to emit a signal that can interfere with the alien ship's systems." Her colleague, Dr. James Wilson, nodded approvingly. "Brilliant. They'll never expect an attack from our phones." Meanwhile, in a military base in Russia, soldiers were learning to use new, unconventional weapons. Captain Anatoly Volkov watched as his troops practiced with what looked like oversized water guns. "Remember," he shouted, "these contain a special solution that can eat through alien metal. Aim for their ship's weak points." The soldiers nodded, their faces serious. They knew the fate of the world might depend on their skills. In New York, Sarah had joined a civilian defense group. They were turning the city into a giant trap for any aliens who might try to land. "We'll use the subway tunnels as hiding spots," the group leader explained. "And we've rigged the billboards in Times Square to flash blinding lights. It'll disorient them." Sarah felt a mix of fear and excitement. She never thought she'd be part of a resistance against alien invaders. All over the world, similar scenes were playing out. Farmers were modifying their tractors into makeshift tanks. Teachers were using their knowledge to create battlefield strategies. Even kids were helping, using their video game skills to design simulations of alien attacks. In the White House, President Chen met with her top advisors. The room was tense, but there was also a sense of hope. "What's our status?" she asked. Her military advisor, General Thompson, stepped forward. "We've distributed the modified cell phones to key locations worldwide. Our hackers are ready to launch a coordinated cyber attack. And we've set up a global network of civilian militias." President Chen nodded. "And the shield?" Dr. Rodriguez, joining via video call, answered. "It's holding, Madam President. We're working on a way to extend its power, but it's a race against time." Just then, a young aide burst into the room. "Madam President, we've just received a message from, well, you need to see this." He handed her a tablet. On the screen was a message that made everyone's jaws drop. "Greetings, Earth leaders. We are the Resistance, a group of aliens fighting against the Galactic Empire. We've been monitoring your preparations and are impressed by your ingenuity. We want to help." The room erupted in excited chatter. Could this be true? Allies from space? President Chen raised her hand for silence. "This could be a trick," she warned. "But if it's genuine, it could change everything. Let's proceed cautiously." As word of the potential alien allies spread, it gave people new energy. In labs and workshops around the world, humans worked even harder, hoping to impress their possible new friends. In London, a group of engineers had a breakthrough. They'd found a way to use the Earth's magnetic field to disrupt the alien ship's navigation systems. "It's like a planet-sized cloaking device," one engineer explained excitedly. "We can make entire cities invisible to their scanners." In Australia, Aboriginal elders shared ancient techniques for living off the land and staying hidden. These skills, passed down for thousands of years, were now being taught to people all over the world. "If we need to go into hiding," one elder said, "we'll be ready." As the day went on, Earth continued to transform. Cities became fortresses, ordinary objects became weapons, and people from all walks of life became warriors. In her apartment in New York, Sarah looked out at the alien ship still hovering over the city. She felt different now. The fear was still there, but it was overshadowed by something else. Determination. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from the Civilian Defense Group. Meeting tonight. Big plans. Bring friends. Sarah smiled. She was ready. As night fell, the people of Earth went to sleep knowing that tomorrow could bring anything. A devastating attack, a new ally, or something no one could predict. But whatever came, they would face it together. In the White House, President Chen looked at the latest reports. Earth was as ready as it could be. Now, they just had to wait and see what the Galactic Empire's next move would be. She took a deep breath and whispered to herself, "Bring it on." The attack came at dawn. Across the world, the Galactic Empire's ships lit up like giant fireflies. Beams of energy shot towards Earth, breaking through the weakening shield in multiple places. In New York, Sarah woke to the sound of explosions. She ran to her window and saw chaos in the streets. People were running, screaming. In the distance, a skyscraper crumbled. "It's starting," she whispered, her heart racing. She grabbed her emergency bag and ran out, ready to join her defense group. In the White House Situation Room, President Chen watched multiple screens showing attacks around the world. Her face was grim but determined. "Activate all defense systems," she ordered, "and get me in touch with the resistance." As if on cue, a hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed an alien figure, tall and slender with blue skin. "Greetings, Earth leaders," the alien said. "I am Tsar Toll of the Resistance. We're ready to assist." President Chen nodded. "We appreciate your help. What can you tell us about their attack strategy?" As Tsar Toll explained the Empire's tactics, Earth's defenses sprang into action. In London, engineers activated their magnetic cloaking device. Suddenly, to the alien ships, it looked like the entire city had vanished. "It's working," shouted Chief Engineer Amelia Brooks. "They're firing at empty space." In Tokyo, Dr. Tanaka's team unleashed their secret weapon. Millions of modified cell phones around the world emitted a high-pitched signal. On the alien ships, control panels sparked and screens went dark. "We've disrupted their communication systems," Dr. Tanaka reported. "They can't coordinate their attacks." But the Empire was powerful. Despite Earth's defenses, cities were being hit. In Rio de Janeiro, the Christ the Redeemer statue toppled. In Moscow, the Kremlin was engulfed in flames. Yet, humanity fought back with everything they had. In Australia, Aboriginal trackers led groups of soldiers through the outback, ambushing alien ground forces that had managed to land. "They may have fancy weapons," said Jalu, a tribal elder, "but they don't know this land like we do." In the skies over North America, pilots in hastily upgraded fighter jets engaged in dogfights with alien craft. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but their bravery and skill kept them in the fight. Captain Maria Rodriguez, leading a squadron, shouted into her radio, "Remember your training. Use the clouds for cover and hit them when they least expect it." On the ground, civilian militias put their preparations to use. In Paris, the Eiffel Tower, rigged with electromagnetic pulse devices, sent out waves that short-circuited nearby alien vehicles. Sarah, now with her defense group in New York, helped coordinate evacuations. They used the subway tunnels, just as they had planned, to move people safely. "Stay calm and keep moving," she shouted, guiding a group of scared civilians. "We've prepared for this." As the battle raged on, something unexpected happened. The Empire's attacks began to falter. Their shots became less accurate, their movements more erratic. In the White House, Tsar Toll explained, "Your defenses are working better than we anticipated. The Empire isn't used to this level of resistance from a primitive planet." President Chen allowed herself a small smile. "They underestimated us. That's their mistake." But the fight was far from over. As the first wave of attacks subsided, everyone knew the Empire would regroup and try again. In a secret bunker deep underground, Dr. Rodriguez and her team worked frantically to reinforce the global shield. If we can get it back to full power, she said, we might be able to buy ourselves some time. As night fell, the world took stock. Many cities were damaged, and there had been losses. But Earth still stood, and its people were more united than ever. Sarah, exhausted but proud, helped set up a temporary shelter in a school gymnasium. As she handed out blankets and food, she overheard snippets of conversation. "Did you see how we fought them off? I never thought I'd see the day when all countries work together like this. We're actually holding our own against aliens." There was fear in people's voices, but also pride and hope. In the White House, President Chen prepared to address the world. She looked tired but resolute. "My fellow citizens of Earth," she began, "today we faced the full might of the Galactic Empire. They thought we would fall easily. They were wrong." She paused, letting her words sink in. "We have suffered losses, and there are hard days ahead. But we have shown the universe what humanity is made of. We will not bow. We will not break. And we will not give up our home without a fight." As her speech was broadcast around the world, people cheered and cried. They had survived the first strike. Now, they would prepare for what came next. The battle for Earth had truly begun. 2 weeks had passed since the first strike. Earth was battered but not broken. Now, it was time to fight back. In a hidden base beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Thompson stood before a diverse group of soldiers and civilians. Among them was Sarah, who had been recruited for a special mission. "Today," the general announced, "we take the fight to them." He revealed a holographic map showing the positions of the Empire's ships. "Thanks to our alien allies, we now know their weak points. It's time for Operation Slingshot." Across the globe, similar briefings were happening. Humanity was preparing its counterattack. In orbit, a team of astronauts and engineers worked on a captured alien scout ship. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, now in space, marveled at the technology. "If we can replicate this," she said, her eyes wide with excitement, "we'll have a real chance." Back on Earth, in the Amazon rainforest, a group of indigenous warriors led by Chief Raoni prepared for their part in the mission. They had discovered that their traditional plant-based poisons were surprisingly effective against the alien biology. "Our ancestors guide us," Chief Raoni said, dipping arrows into a bubbling mixture. "Today, ancient wisdom will help save the future." As dawn broke, Operation Slingshot began. In New York, Sarah and her team snuck aboard a grounded alien ship. Their job was to plant Dr. Tanaka's reverse-engineered virus into the ship's computer system. "Remember," Sarah whispered, "we're invisible to their sensors thanks to the cloaking devices. But stay quiet." They moved through the ship's eerie corridors, their hearts pounding. When they reached the main computer, Sarah took a deep breath and inserted the virus. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the ship's lights flickered and went out. "It worked," Sarah exclaimed. "Let's get out of here." Similar scenes played out around the world. In Paris, London, Tokyo, and dozens of other cities, brave teams infiltrated alien ships, planting viruses and sabotaging systems. In space, Dr. Tanaka and her team used the captured scout ship to approach the Empire's main fleet. They transmitted a signal that made their ship appear as one of the Empire's own. "They're hailing us," one of the astronauts said nervously. Dr. Tanaka nodded. "Just like we practiced. Respond with the code phrase." The astronauts spoke into the comm system, using the alien language they had learned from the Resistance. Tense seconds passed. Then, a green light blinked on their console. They were in. On the ground, the counterattack continued. In Russia, Captain Volkov led a team using the modified water guns filled with metal-eating solution. They ambushed a group of alien ground troops, dissolving their advanced armor. "For Earth," Volkov shouted as his team pushed forward. In the skies over Australia, pilots engaged in dogfights, now using fighters upgraded with reverse-engineered alien tech. The playing field was finally leveling. "Woohoo!" shouted Flight Lieutenant Jura as she outmaneuvered an alien craft, sending it crashing into the outback. How do you like Earth now? But the real game changer came from an unexpected source. In a lab in India, a young programmer named Priya had been working non-stop on cracking the alien code. Suddenly, her computer chimed. "I'm in," she shouted, her fingers flying over the keyboard. "I can access their main network." Within minutes, the news reached President Chen. She immediately contacted all team leaders. "This is it," she said, her voice filled with determination. "Initiate Phase 2. Across the Earth and up in space, humans activated Priya's code. Suddenly, alien ships began to lose power. Their weapon systems went offline. Communication channels filled with static. In the Amazon, Chief Raoni and his warriors emerged from the jungle, approaching a now vulnerable alien ground base. Their poison-tipped arrows flew true, taking down alien troops with surprising ease. "The spirits of the forest fight with us," Raoni said, a fierce grin on his face. As the day wore on, more and more alien ships fell from the sky or fled Earth's orbit. The tide was turning. In the White House Situation Room, President Chen watched the events unfold with a mixture of hope and disbelief. Beside her, the hologram of Tsar Tul nodded approvingly. "Impressive," the alien resistance leader said. "We underestimated your species, it seems." Chen allowed herself a small smile. A common mistake, it appears. As night fell, the scale of humanity's victory became clear. The Galactic Empire's invasion force was in full retreat. Cheers erupted in cities around the world. In New York, Sarah stood atop a demolished alien craft, waving an Earth flag. Around her, people danced and hugged, their faces streaked with tears of joy and relief. But in the White House, President Chen remained cautious. "This isn't over," she warned her advisors. "The Empire will be back, and next time, they'll be prepared for us." She turned to Tsar Tul's hologram. "We're going to need more help if we want to secure our place in the galaxy." Tsar Tul nodded solemnly. "Indeed. The real battle, I fear, is just beginning." As Earth celebrated its first major victory, the stars above twinkled with new possibility and new danger. The story of humanity's stand against the Galactic Empire was far from over. A month had passed since Earth's surprising victory. The Galactic Empire's remaining ships hovered at the edge of the solar system, a constant reminder that the war was not over. In a specially constructed chamber in Geneva, world leaders gathered for an unprecedented meeting. President Chen stood at the center, flanked by holographic projections of alien figures, representatives from both the Empire and the Resistance. Sarah, now a decorated hero, watched from the sidelines. She could hardly believe she was witnessing history in the making. The Imperial representative, a stern-looking being with metallic skin, spoke first. "The Empire acknowledges Earth's unexpected capabilities," it said, its voice cold and mechanical. "We propose a ceasefire." Murmurs rippled through the human delegation. Was this really happening? President Chen stepped forward, her face resolute. "We're willing to discuss terms," she said, "but let me be clear. Earth will not surrender its sovereignty." The alien's eyes narrowed. "You are in no position to make demands, human." Suddenly, screens around the room lit up. Dr. Tanaka's face appeared, broadcasting from a secret location. "Actually," she said, a hint of a smile on her face, "we are." With a few keystrokes, she activated a hidden program. Instantly, the Imperial ships at the edge of the solar system powered down. The Imperial representative's eyes widened in shock. "What have you done?" Chen's voice was calm but firm. "We've been busy this past month. Your ships are now under our control. So yes, we are in a position to make demands." The atmosphere in the room shifted. The human stood taller, more confident. The Imperial representative looked shaken. Tsar Tul, the resistance leader, stepped forward. Perhaps now would be a good time to discuss the future of galactic relations. he suggested smoothly. What followed was the most extraordinary negotiation in human history. For hours, they discussed treaties, technology exchanges, and Earth's place in the wider galaxy. Sarah watched in awe as President Chen masterfully navigated the complex discussions. She wasn't just defending Earth, she was securing its future among the stars. As the talks progressed, it became clear that Earth's victory had sent shockwaves through the galaxy. Other planets under Imperial rule were beginning to resist. "You've started something," Zartul said to Chen during a break. "A revolution, perhaps." Chen nodded solemnly. "We never wanted war, but we will always fight for our freedom. And now, it seems, for others too." As night fell, a tentative agreement was reached. The Empire would withdraw from Earth's solar system. In return, Earth would share its unique defensive technologies, but not its weapons. "We've seen enough of war," Chen declared. "Our goal now is to protect, not conquer." The Imperial representative grudgingly agreed. It was clear the Empire had underestimated not just Earth's strength, but its wisdom too. But the negotiations weren't over. Earth had one more demand. "We want a seat on the Galactic Council," Chen announced. The room fell silent. The Imperial representative sputtered in disbelief. "Impossible. You're barely a spacefaring race." Zartul, however, nodded approvingly. "I second the motion," he said. "Earth has proven itself more than worthy." Debate raged for another hour. Finally, a compromise was reached. Earth would have observer status on the Council, with the chance to earn full membership in time. As the meeting concluded, Sarah felt a tap on her shoulder. It was Dr. Tanaka. "We did it," the scientist said, her eyes shining. "We've secured our place among the stars." Sarah nodded, still processing the magnitude of what had happened. "What happens now?" she asked. Dr. Tanaka smiled. Now we start exploring. There's a whole galaxy out there, and we have a lot to learn, and a lot to teach." As the delegates filed out of the chamber, news of the agreement spread across the globe. People poured into the streets, celebrating not just peace, but a new era for humanity. In New York, Sarah watched the celebrations from the roof of her apartment building. The alien ships that had once threatened destruction now twinkled peacefully in the night sky, preparing to leave Earth's orbit. Her phone buzzed with a message. It was from President Chen herself. "Thank you for your service. Earth's future is bright, and you've helped make it so." Sarah smiled, feeling a mix of pride, relief, and excitement for what was to come. Earth had faced its greatest challenge and emerged stronger than ever. The Galactic Empire had come to conquer, but instead they had awakened a new power in the galaxy. As fireworks lit up the sky, Sarah knew that this was not the end of Earth's story. It was just the beginning of a grand new chapter. 5 years had passed since Earth's historic victory over the Galactic Empire. The planet had changed in ways no one could have imagined. Sarah stood on the observation deck of Harmony Station, Earth's first orbital city. Below her, the blue marble of Earth shimmered, while above, stars beckoned with new promise. "Beautiful, isn't it?" a voice said behind her. Sarah turned to see Dr. Tanaka, now Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council. Sarah nodded, smiling. "I never get tired of this view." Their conversation was interrupted by a gentle chime. A holographic screen appeared, showing President Chen addressing the United Nations of Earth. "Today," Chen began, her voice filled with pride, "we celebrate 5 years of peace and unprecedented progress. Our cities have been rebuilt. Our technology has advanced centuries in mere years, and our place in the galactic community is secure." As Chen spoke, Sarah reflected on the changes she'd seen. Earth had become a hub of interstellar commerce and diplomacy. Alien visitors were now a common sight in major cities. Human innovations, born from the crucible of war, were now sought after across the galaxy. "But our greatest achievement," Chen continued, "has been the Galactic Education Exchange Program." Sarah smiled at this. She had been instrumental in setting up the program. which allowed humans to study on alien worlds and brought alien students to Earth. Through understanding, we build lasting peace, Chen said. And through diversity, we find strength. As the speech ended, Sarah and Dr. Tanaka made their way to the station's diplomatic wing. Today was a big day. Earth was hosting its first Galactic Council meeting. They entered a grand chamber filled with beings from across the galaxy. Some were familiar, the metallic-skinned Imperials, the blue-hued Resistance members. Others were new and exotic. At the center of it all stood Tsar Toll, now the Council's Chancellor. He nodded respectfully to Sarah and Dr. Tanaka as they took their seats. Representatives of the galaxy, Tsar Toll began, we face a crisis. The Void Plague threatens entire systems. We need solutions. As the Council debated, Sarah watched with pride as the Earth delegation, led by Dr. Tanaka, presented their proposal. It combined Earth's unique shield technology with alien medical knowledge to create a planetary quarantine system. The council chamber buzzed with excitement. Even the Imperial representatives looked impressed. Once again, Tsar Toll said, Earth shows us a new way forward. The proposal is accepted. As the meeting adjourned, Sarah's communicator beeped. It was a message from her old friend Mike, now governor of the Mars colony. Sarah, you won't believe what we just discovered in the Valles Marineris. Can you come to Mars next week? Sarah grinned. Another adventure awaited. Later that evening, Sarah stood with Dr. Tanaka in the station's garden dome. Plants from 100 worlds grew here, a symbol of Earth's new connections. Did you ever imagine this? Sarah asked, gesturing at the alien flora and the star-filled view beyond. Dr. Tanaka shook her head. Never. But that's the beauty of it, isn't it? We've always been explorers at heart. Now we have a whole galaxy to explore. Their conversation was interrupted by an alert. A ship was approaching. The first graduation class from the Galactic Education Exchange Program, returning from their studies across the stars. Sarah and Dr. Tanaka hurried to the docking bay. As the doors opened, young humans and aliens alike poured out, chattering excitedly in a mix of languages. One young woman, her eyes shining with excitement, approached Sarah. Commander Thompson, she said, saluting. Cadet Aya reporting back from Centauri Prime. I can't wait to share what I've learned. Sarah felt a lump in her throat. This was what they had fought for. Not just survival, but a future filled with possibility. As the day wound down, Sarah returned to the observation deck. The Earth below was entering night, cities twinkling like stars. And above, the real stars shone, no longer a source of fear, but of wonder and opportunity. A shooting star streaked across her view. Probably a ship entering Earth's atmosphere. Once, that sight would have sparked panic. Now, it was just another normal day. Sarah thought back to that morning 5 years ago, when she first saw the Empire's ships in the sky. How far they had come since then. How far they still had to go. She placed her hand on the window, feeling the vibration of the station's systems. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge, and not only survived but thrived. They had taken their place among the stars, not through conquest, but through courage, innovation, and an unwavering spirit. As Sarah gazed out at the vast expanse of space, she smiled. The future was bright, and the greatest adventures were yet to come. Earth's new era had only just begun.